the Virginia Horse Industry Board, Southwest Virginia Agricultural Association, and the Virginia Christmas Tree Growers Association are proud sponsors of Virginia farming.
This program's brought to you by the Virginia Farm Bureau. Large or small, Virginia farmers work year-round to help put food on your table. And Farm Bureau works year-round to help farmers and all Virginians. Farming, it's all good. To learn more, go to vafarmbureau.org.
Brought to you by Farm Family. Life, auto, business, farm. Steve Morse, fruit grower, distiller, entrepreneur. Another personal story on farmfamilypeople.com. Farm Family, the people you know. Hi everybody, welcome to Virginia Farming. I'm Amy Rocher. Today on Ag Insights, farm activist and constitutional lawyer Mark Fitzgibbons joins us to talk about new legislature written to protect Virginia's small farmers. Then we'll talk about mulch when we join Mark Viette in the garden. And as always, we'll have the Ag Calendar and a Minute in the Field video. All this plus the Ag News of the Week on this edition of Virginia Farming. Virginia oysters are headed to a Hong Kong seafood show in early September. 2 Virginia shellfish growers will exhibit at the Asian Seafood Expo in Hong Kong with a goal to increase sales and generate new business opportunities throughout Asia. VDAC's Commissioner Matt Lohr said this could open up a whole new export market for Virginia shellfish, especially when you consider the oyster industry was nearly dead 25 years ago. This development shows the economic vitality of the industry continues to swing upward. The industry sold $9.5 million in oysters in 2012, an increase of $3 million from the previous year. The annual contribution of shellfish farmers to the economy of the Commonwealth is approaching $100 million. The economy isn't the only thing benefiting from shellfish. Oysters clean the water, remove nitrogen, and enhance water clarity, thus continually improving the quality of Virginia's waters. Well, hard cider was a favorite drink of Virginia's founding fathers. What was popular then is popular now. Hard cider is a booming business in the Commonwealth. This is a story about 2 Virginia cideries that take different approaches in making and marketing hard cider.
I think some of the appeal right now is that it's new to the market, new to the American market, and also the broad range of products that hit a wider palate.
Showalter's Orchard in Timberville makes their Old Hill cider Old World style, much like the cider that was a favorite of our founding fathers.
It is more like traditional colonial times in that we're making mostly dry ciders, so the fermentation is done all the way to dry, so there's no sugar left, so we're not preserving it with preservatives in particular. It's my interpretation of the farmhouse style that I was used to as growing up.
We were surprised at how well received it was. Actually, our production run was pretty small because we didn't know how people were going to respond to it, and we sold out almost immediately.
Old Hill ciders are bottled and marketed as a high-end beverage.
It's bottled in 750 milliliter champagne style bottles because it's lightly carbonated, so it is under pressure. It's wine making all the way until we get to the bottling steps, and then we use beer making equipment to force carbonate it and put it into the bottle.
That beer bottling technique is also the way Bold Rock Cidery in Nelliesford markets most of their ciders.
We're probably the first in Virginia and in quite a large area around Virginia, I guess, to have made the investment to actually package into 6-packs and to package into kegs, into the bar trade. And we've done that because I really feel, and from what we can see and what our distributors are telling us, that's where the largest growth sector of the market is.
To meet those needs, Bold Rock uses a different process than the Showalters do.
We we would particularly press apples, and then we add wine yeast to ferment the apples, to ferment that juice. And that process, we temperature control it, we make certain that everything's 100% correct with it, and we do that part of the process in about 7 days. And we just mature the cider slightly, and we take out some of the proteins that cause bitterness and could form hazes in the product. Finally, we sterile filter and bottle or put it into kegs.
The cider market has grown significantly over the last few years, and it doesn't show any signs of slowing down.
Over the last, I guess, 2 years, I've seen rapid change in that as the cider market has gone from virtually very, very little all the way up. We started looking at maybe we could sell something like about 8,000 cases. And I think in our first 6 months, we did 45,000 cases, and we're now on track to do something like about 120,000 cases in our first year.
So what's next for these two cideries?
The next phase for us will be to push harder at wholesale and sharing with restaurants and gourmet wine shops and so forth.
We've already outstripped the very limited facilities we have here, so we're in the process of constructing a brand new state-of-the-art 12,500 square foot building right here on site, just up the hill.
Any way you look at it, hard cider is an old tradition that's making a big comeback, using the abundance of apples Virginia has to offer.
We're very, very proud, I guess, to be making hard cider here in Virginia out of local Virginia apples, and seeing the wonderful reception we've had for the products.
Coyotes, feral swine, and black vultures continue to prey on livestock and damage personal property, costing farmers thousands of dollars in lost production. But now farmers in eastern Virginia have access to a new resource for protecting their livestock from these predators. The General Assembly has increased funding to add a livestock protection specialist position to a program that has been successful in the western parts of the Commonwealth. The program is administered by VDACS and USDA Wildlife Services. Virginia Director of USDA Wildlife Services, Scott Barris, said their services are available to any livestock producer, large or small. The size of the farm doesn't matter. Just give them a call and they will be able to give you some type of assistance. Livestock producers experiencing damage from predators should contact the USDA Wildlife Services program at 866-487-3297. Well, today's cattle producer should be concerned with two things: what genetics will perform in the pasture and what consumers want in the meat case. In this segment, BJ Scott shares why one rancher believes marbling is central to both goals.
James Henderson of the Bradley 3 Ranch in Texas knows what kind of cattle his customers need. In the big cattle country where they operate, cows must be able to travel for their food, defend their calves against predators, and produce offspring that are in demand.
Well, we've been in the meat business and we've dealt with consumers, and we understand that marbling is a very important trait to the consumer. And so looking at it from the meat side, that's important. But as we've looked at it from the maternal side, we think it's even more important, because there's nothing that makes a cowman more money than a cow that has a calf and stays in the herd and reproduces on an efficient basis. And so if you can keep those two things going, and marbling helps do that, that's what we think makes money.
That's right. Selecting for quality can have a positive impact on your cow herd.
Well, I've said numerous times that I think marbling may be a more important reproductive trait, maternal trait, than it is a carcass trait. And I say that because it's that ready source of energy. And that cow can store it up really quickly, and she can use it really quickly when she needs to. And those easy, fleshy, easy keeping kind of cows tend to be the ones with the highest marbling.
Henderson says using EPDs and other breeding tools let anyone fine-tune cattle to fit their business and resources. Yet there are still plenty of marbling skeptics, especially among those who run cattle in less than ideal conditions.
I think they've not looked at high marbling cattle because, again, we're probably in as harsh an environment in Texas as there is. And those cattle that are higher marbling are typically the ones that survive and rebreed and reproduce in our environment.
I'm BJ Scott.
Thank you, BJ. North Carolina-based Hampton Farms, the leading roaster of in-shell peanuts in the United States, will invest $5.5 million to establish a peanut butter production plant in Southampton County, initially creating 60 new jobs. Governor Bob McDonnell said Southampton County is the perfect fit for the company's needs. Southampton offers an existing building that allows great speed to market and abundant natural resources for its product. McDonnell said that it's gratifying that the region will gain 60 new jobs and a strong Virginia agriculture sector will be utilized. Hampton Farms has become the #1 brand of in-shell peanuts in the country and operates 4 strategically located roasting production facilities. The company remains family-owned and committed to producing the finest peanut snacks available. Well, with the Bonetta bill being tabled earlier this year, Virginia's small farmers are still in need of legislation to protect on-farm commerce and the rural way of life. That's straight ahead on Ag Insights. New legislation to further protect Virginia small farmers will be presented to the General Assembly, the Virginia Farm Rights Protection Act. And joining us today is constitutional lawyer and farm rights activist Mark Fitzgibbons. Mark, welcome to Virginia Farming.
Thanks for having me.
Well, welcome back. You were with us earlier when before the Bonetta bill took off, and we were having some issues in Fauquier County, and I'm assuming that this bill kind of coattails that the Bonetta bill that was kind of passed last year.
Can you
explain to us what it is?
Yes, I call this the Bonetta bill 2.0, which essentially takes the same elements of the Bonetta bill, which are that farming includes commerce, and the Bonetta bill protected constitutional rights of farmers, and it also provided remedies for when counties violated the rights of farmers. So this is essentially has the same 3 elements, but it expands on it. It addresses some of the concerns that people raised. For example, some people thought the Bonetta bill would lead to Woodstock rock concerts or Walmarts. So the Bonetta bill 2.0 essentially addresses those provisions. It allows for counties to regulate noise, and it creates rebuttable presumptions for farmers, but allows counties still to regulate for the health, safety, and welfare of their county citizens. So it takes all of the criticisms, which some may have been well-founded, some not, but it still addresses all of them and includes it in this one package.
Well, I think that's really good news for small farmers, because I know there was a lot of backing for that Bonetta bill, and there was a lot of opposition for it as well, but that bill was written and presented in a very short time. And from what I've seen of this, it really looks like you really took your time and addressed all those issues. And one of the issues that I think is really important is that it protects the farmer where they have somewhere to turn if their local government is not operating the right way. Can you explain a little bit about that?
And when I was here last time, I was talking about the Fauquier winery ordinance. That was a classic example where there was a winery statute, Virginia winery statute, but the county violated that statute with their ordinance, and there were no appropriate remedies for the vintners against the county. They could sue, but there are no great remedies. The Bonetta bill 2.0 provides remedies. So if counties do violate the rights of farmers and trespass on their rights of commerce, farmers will have private causes of action against the counties, but it also does 2 things that the Bonetta bill did not. Includes whistleblower protection, so that county employees can go to the Attorney General and say the county is violating the law. This new bill also provides access to the Attorney General to a cause of action. He may intervene in an action brought by a farmer, or the Attorney General would be able to bring his or her own cause of action to enforce the right to farm in the constitutional provisions in this Bonetta 2.0.
Okay, so now the farmer has somebody to turn to that's actually above their local government to get some answers.
That's right, that's right. And nobody wants Richmond sticking their nose in county matters. However, nobody wants counties to be sticking their nose unlawfully in farmers' matters. So this provides a layer of protection for farmers who want to engage in their rights of commerce, and also farm culture. What's happened is that we've had so much over-regulation that the farm culture that's so important to Virginia and all across America, as a matter of fact, farm culture has been ruined by overregulation. In Fauquier County, for example, they passed an ordinance that regulates pumpkin patch events and corn mazes. I mean, can you imagine a farmer having hoops to go through for a simple pumpkin patch event? I mean, it's silly. So this is not Richmond imposing itself in an ordinance on counties. It is simply allowing farmers to have remedies to protect their own rights.
Well, and I think that's so important, because I think that what we've seen come out of this entire mess that began in Fauquier County, I think it went on other places. I think it was brought to our attention by Martha and some of the goings on, that were happening that people didn't really know about. But I really feel like this will protect those farmers, and the fact that they have someone else to go to is so important, because from what I can tell, it looks like a lot of these county governances are made up from people who don't know really anything about agriculture, the practices, what it takes to get food from the field to the table. And it seems to me that having that outlet of the whistleblower can really, really protect these farmers, and they can get an ear of someone who understands what they're going through.
People are fearful of criticizing their county government or government in general. And a lot of people say, well, what about the other Marthas out there? Well, Martha, when she stood up and fought this, she was subject to all sorts of abuse. Her home was vandalized. She received an IRS audit. So people don't want to raise their head like Martha raised her head, because they're fearful of the repercussions. So yes, this bill does provide those types of remedies, and there are hundreds and thousands of people that we've heard from who are saying, yeah, go, we're behind you 100%, because we've experienced this, but we can't go forward because our family business depends on us being quiet and not fighting the system.
Exactly. But, if Martha hadn't raised her voice and let her issue be heard, we would still be experiencing a lot of the problems, and other farmers as well. And like you say, a lot of them are silent because they feel like they have to be, which is understandable. I think another thing that happened with all of this legislation from last year is that some other groups were formed. VDACs formed the On-Farm Activities Work Group.
Yes, yes.
Explain to me exactly what that is and why that organization was formed.
Following the General Assembly session last year, with all of the popularity for the Bonetta bill, which didn't pass, Commissioner Matt Lohr was asked to form a study group, and he put together this group of 15 people to study the issues and propose recommendations for the General Assembly for the 2014 session. Commissioner Lohr and Deputy Secretary Travis Hill, just marvelous, good people, understand farming, have farmers' best interests at heart. Unfortunately, this commission, which is only 15 people, the majority of that commission are government officials and Richmond lobbyists who are part of the problem. Right. And there's only one grassroots farming group and only one small farmer, one farmer who has a farm under the average size farm for the United States or Virginia on that commission. So the 15-member commission is underrepresentative of the people who the Bonetta bill was intended to protect. So we're hoping there's one more meeting of this on-farm activities working group, September 24th. We're hoping the recommendations that come out will see through the Bonetta bill's correct issues and forward those on to the General Assembly under this new bill that's been drafted called Bonetta Bill 2.0, which addresses all the issues and makes a good recommendation to the General Assembly to address those issues that small farmers need.
So are you currently seeking Virginia representatives to take this bill and look over it and get behind it?
Yeah, we will be. We'll have a number of people approaching delegates and senators There's no bill that can be introduced this year until after the election, so we have some time to proceed. Last year, the Bonetta bill itself wasn't even crafted until late November, wasn't even presented to anybody up in Richmond until late December. So we had the process started late. We didn't go around and ask delegates and senators because the bill was drafted so late. But this year we have time. The issues have been brought to the public's attention. There's a lot of popular support for this type of legislation, and we'll go through the process this year and see who's on board and who's not.
Well, you wrote this act, and I think you did a really good job. I think you addressed a lot of concerns, and I really hope that our representatives get behind it and it gets passed, because these small farmers really do need some protection, and they need to hold on to their rights. Absolutely,
and we hope the Assembly will recognize that. Take care of this issue in this session, make this issue go away, and let's get on to other business. And because if we can't get things right for farmers in Virginia and in America, we can't get anything right. So that's why this legislation is important. It's like I said, it's farm commerce, but it's more important than that. It's farm culture, and we need to do something to preserve farmlands and the way of life that small farmers want to engage in throughout the Commonwealth.
You're absolutely right. Thank you so much, Mark, for joining us today. We really do appreciate it, and good luck getting this passed and presented to everyone.
Thank you so much, Amy. Appreciate it.
We'll be right back. Mulching adds natural beauty to your landscaping, and it helps control weeds and retain soil moisture. Let's join Mark Viette in the garden.
Many of us in gardening have experienced drought in recent years. If it's not for the whole year, it's at certain times of the season. And there's nothing better than putting down a long-term, durable mulch that adds organic matter to the soil, but also does a couple other things. And one of those things is it conserves moisture. Really, mulches act as a buffer. They prevent your soils from warming up too soon, cooling too soon, and they really retain a lot of the moisture in the soil. It actually acts as a protective barrier so moisture stays in the soil a little bit longer. You might ask yourself, where do you find a good mulch? And how do you buy mulch? Well, I really like to use this pine, which is double hammer milled. That means it's ground twice, and it's screened so there's no real big chunks or pieces in it. And it's actually produced by somebody all they do is produce mulches. This is partially decomposed. You can also purchase it fresh. If you purchase it fresh, you'll get a brighter, richer, redder garden, a lighter garden. If you purchase mulch, which has been partially decomposed, you're going to get a more natural or darker garden. You can buy it in bulk and have it shipped to you, or you can buy it in 2 or 3 cubic foot bags. I really like sort of the shredded as opposed to, the chips are great too, but sometimes the chips will wash away in heavy rainstorms. So I really like this mulch. It's really well worth your investment. It'll give you beauty in your garden for years and years to come. One of the real advantages to a mulch is keeping weeds out. And the real key with keeping weeds out is actually keeping them out of the garden right from the beginning. Once you get weeds started in the garden, it's almost a never-ending battle of weeding day after day after day. So you want to prevent weeds from getting started. The proper mulch depth to accomplish that is about 2 to 3 inches. You really won't want to over-mulch, because some people do over-mulch, and sometimes you'll see mulch this deep, and that really is injurious to plants and to trees and to roots. So what you want is about 2 to 3 inches, and as I mentioned, I really like pine. And what I do is slowly spread it, and sometimes I have a stick. Now I know by looking at this mulch it's only 2 to 3 inches, but for some of us you might want to measure on a stick and mark a line so you don't mulch too deeply. Because mulching too deeply will smother the plants and it won't really allow for enough air to get to the roots. And if you do this once every year, once every 2 years, especially with the pine mulch, this will really help conserve moisture, save your water, save on your water bill, and keep your weeds out of the garden. I'm Mark Viette. Join me next time in the garden.
Taking a look at the Ag calendar, the 7th Annual Wine and Oyster Festival will be held at Stratford Hall September 21st and 22nd. In addition to Virginia wines, you can taste oysters on the half shell, steamed and roasted, or order steamed shrimp and clams. There will also be other specialty foods, arts and crafts, and children's arcades. For more information, visit stratfordhall.org. That does it for our show. Thanks for watching. Have a great week, everyone. I'm Amy Rocher for Virginia Farming.
This program's brought to you by the Virginia Farm Bureau. From apples to zucchini, Virginia farmers work hard to put food on your table. And Farm Bureau works year-round to help farmers and all Virginians. Farming, it's all good. To learn more, go to vafarmbureau.org.
Brought to you by Farm Family, Life, Auto, Business, Farm. Jim Gray, farmer's son, agribusiness owner, insurance agent. Another personal story on farmfamilypeople.com. Farm Family, the people you know.